Captain Deho stood on the bridge of his ship, the Starfinder. His blue skin turned dark with anger as he looked at the big map on the screen. Something was wrong. The map showed stars and planets everywhere except in one big area. That area was a perfect half-circle of empty space. "This makes no sense," Deho said, hitting his fist on the control panel. His two heart lights blinked fast on his chest, showing his anger. His crew watched him with worry. They had never seen their captain so upset. "Captain, we have been flying for 7 months to get here," said Subin, the science officer. Her thin arms held a message tablet tight against her chest. "But we cannot go any further." "Why not?" asked Deho, turning to look at her. "There should be hundreds of stars in that empty space. Why does the map show nothing?" Subin looked down at her feet. "I just got a message from the Galactic Council. We are not allowed to cross the border." "What border?" Deho asked. "There's nothing there." The bridge went quiet. No one wanted to be the one to tell him. Finally, Jinwoo, the ship's navigator, spoke up. "Captain, that empty space, and it's not really empty." His voice was low, almost a whisper. "That's human space." "Human space?" Deho repeated the words like they tasted bad in his mouth. "What does that mean?" Subin's small antennas twitched as she read from her tablet. The message says, "Beyond this point lies human space. By order of the Galactic Council, all non-human ships are forbidden to enter." Deho walked closer to the big screen. The empty half-circle seemed to mock him. "I've heard of humans, but I thought they were just stories to scare young ones." "They're real," said Tae-young, the security officer. His hand rested on the weapon at his side, a habit from his military days. "The Council found them only 70 years ago. They were on a small blue planet in this sector." "So?" asked Deho. "There are thousands of species in our galaxy. What makes these humans so special that we have to pretend they don't exist?" Tae-young's eyes narrowed. 3 research ships like ours went past that border in the last 20 years. None came back. The air on the bridge seemed to get colder. "The Council keeps the report secret," Tae-young continued, "but everyone knows. The ships just disappeared. No distress calls, no debris, nothing." Hayen, the medical officer, joined them at the map. "I've studied what little we know about human biology. They look weak. No armor, no claws, bad eyes, bad ears. They can't even regrow lost limbs." She shook her head. "They should be prey, not predators." "Then why this?" Deho waved his hand at the empty space on the map. Mireille, the communications officer, who had been quiet until now, spoke softly from her station. "There are stories about what happened when the Council first met the humans." Everyone turned to look at her. "My uncle works for a council member," she said. "He doesn't talk about it much, but once when he had too much glow drink, he told me something." She looked around nervously. "He said the humans showed the council leaders something that made them agree to any terms the humans wanted." "What did they show them?" Jinwoo asked. Mireille shook her head. "He wouldn't say. He just said that afterward the council leader couldn't sleep for days. And when they made the agreement to stay away from human space, no one argued." Deho turned back to the map. "So the council found a new species and then decided to pretend they don't exist? And made an agreement that gives them a whole sector of space that no one can enter?" He shook his head. "It makes no sense." "Captain," said Tae-young, "maybe we should turn back. Our mission was to map cosmic radiation in this sector. We can say the readings were inconclusive. No one will question it. Run away with our tail fins between our legs?" Deho's spine fins rose in defiance. "We are scientists. We're supposed to seek knowledge, not hide from it." "There's seeking knowledge, and then there's seeking trouble," Tae-young replied. "The border is there for a reason." Deho stared at the empty space on the map. What was out there? What could make the mighty Galactic Council, which ruled over thousands of worlds, bow to the wishes of one species? "We'll hold position here," he decided. "Right at the edge of the border. We'll run our scans from this side. Maybe we can learn something without crossing over." The crew relaxed slightly, but a feeling of unease remained on the bridge. As others returned to their stations. Dae-ho continued to stare at the map. The empty space seemed to stare back like an eye watching him. He felt a chill run down his spine fins. That night, in his sleep pod, Dae-ho dreamed of the empty space. In his dream, it wasn't empty at all. It was filled with thousands of stars that pulsed like heartbeats, and among them moved shadows, watching, waiting. He woke with a gasp, his heart lights flashing in fear. The next day, as the Starfinder hovered at the edge of the border, the ship's sensors detected something moving toward them from the empty space. "Captain," called Mireille from her station. "Something's coming." "From where?" asked Dae-ho, rushing to the bridge. "From the empty space," she said, her voice shaking. "It's small, ship-size, and it's—" She looked up at him with wide eyes. "It's sending us a message." "What does it say?" Dae-ho asked, his heart lights pulsing fast. Mireille's fingers trembled over her controls. "It says, 'Greetings, Captain Dae-ho of the Starfinder. This is human emissary Yoon-ji. We noticed you've been observing our border. Perhaps you have questions. I'd be happy to come aboard and discuss them.'" The bridge fell silent. They all stared at Mireille. "How do they know your name?" Jinwoo whispered. "How do they know our ship's name?" Dae-ho felt the chill from his dream return, stronger now. "Show me this human ship," he ordered. The screen lit up. A small vessel hung in space before them. It had no visible engines, no weapons. It was smooth and white, like a water drop frozen in space. "They're waiting for an answer, Captain," Mireille said. Dae-ho looked at his crew. Fear showed on every face. But there was curiosity, too. The same curiosity that had brought them 7 months through space to reach this point. "Tell them," he said finally, "their emissary is welcome aboard." And so the first human stepped onto the Starfinder, and nothing would ever be the same again. The crew of the Starfinder waited nervously as the small white human ship moved closer. No one spoke. They just watched the screen. "How will they dock with us?" asked Jinwoo. "I don't see any matching ports on their ship." Before anyone could answer, a soft white light appeared on their main docking door. The ship's computer made a sound. "Captain," said Subin, looking at her screen with wide eyes. "The docking computer says someone is asking to come in, but the human ship is still 20 meters away from us." Dae-ho felt his heart lights flutter. "Check the outside cameras." The screen changed to show the docking area. A single figure stood there waiting. It wore a simple white suit that seemed to glow slightly. There was no sign of how it had crossed from its ship to theirs without using the docking tube. "Let our guest in," Dae-ho ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. Tae-young moved his hand to his weapon. "Captain, I should meet this human first, for safety." Dae-ho nodded. "Take 2 security team members with you. Be polite but careful." As Tae-young left the bridge, the rest of the crew looked at each other nervously. "What do you think it wants?" asked Jinwoo. "To scare us away," said Mireille. "To protect whatever secret they're hiding in their space." "Then why not just tell us to leave?" asked Dae-ho. "Why come aboard?" No one had an answer. 10 minutes later, the bridge door opened. Tae-young entered first, his face stiff. Behind him came the human. Dae-ho had seen pictures of humans before, but they didn't prepare him for the real thing. The human was shorter than he expected, with smooth skin the color of pale sand. It had no scales, no fins, no bright colors. Its 2 eyes were dark and set close together, looking straight ahead. Its mouth was small with no visible teeth. 2 small ears stuck out from the sides of its head. Dark hair grew on top of its head, cut short and neat. It looked simple, plain, weak. Yet every crew member stood frozen, staring at it. "Captain Dae-ho," said the human in a clear voice. "Thank you for allowing me to visit your ship. I am Yoon-ji, human emissary." The human's voice was soft and smooth, but everyone on the bridge heard it perfectly. Even more surprising, it spoke their language, without any accent or mistakes. "How do you know our language?" Dae-ho asked, unable to stop himself. The human's mouth curved up slightly at the edges. Daiho remembered this was called a smile in human expressions. We make it our business to know all the languages of the galaxy, Yunji said. It helps avoid misunderstandings. The way the human said the last word made Daiho's spine fins twitch. Please sit, he said, pointing to the visitor's chair on the bridge. The human sat down gracefully. Up close, Daiho could see that its eyes weren't just dark. They were deep, like looking into space itself. No light seemed to reflect from them. You have been scanning the border of human space for 26 hours, Yunji said. May I ask why? Daiho looked at his crew, then back at the human. We are scientists. We were sent to map cosmic radiation in this sector. But when we arrived, we found a large area of space missing from our maps. It makes no sense. And yet you did not cross the border, the human observed. Why? We received a message from the Galactic Council, Subin said. We were forbidden to enter. But that didn't stop you from being curious, said Yunji. Those dark eyes moved around the bridge, studying each crew member. You wonder why there is a part of space that no one enters. You wonder what humans are hiding. Are you hiding something? Asked Daiho boldly. The human's smile grew wider, showing small white teeth. Everyone hides something, Captain. The Galactic Council found humans only 70 years ago, said Daiho. How did your people manage to claim so much space in such a short time? And why does the Council agree to keep everyone away? Unji tilted her head slightly. You ask difficult questions, Captain. But I think what you really want to know is, are humans dangerous? The bridge went silent again. No one moved. Are you? Daiho finally asked. The human looked directly at him. What do you think? Before Daiho could answer, Jinwoo spoke up. Your ship has no engines that we can see, no weapons either. How does it move through space? We use different principles than most species, Yunji said. What principles? Asked Subin, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. That would be difficult to explain, said the human. Your language doesn't have the right words for it. Try, said Daiho. Yunji looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached into a pocket of her white suit and pulled out a small round object. It fit in the palm of her hand, a smooth silver ball that caught the light. May I? She asked, holding it up. Daiho nodded, though he wasn't sure what he was agreeing to. The human placed the ball on the table in the center of the bridge. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ball began to rise, floating a few centimeters above the table. Simple levitation technology, said Tae-young, trying to sound unimpressed. Many species have this. Yes, agreed Yunji. But can your levitation technology do this? The ball suddenly shot upward, stopping just below the ceiling. Then it split into 10 smaller balls. The small balls spread out, each hovering over a different crew member's head. Then each ball changed color, matching exactly the color of each crew member's skin. We've studied your species, Yunji said quietly. We know your biology, your technology, your history, your beliefs. The balls merged back into one and returned to the human's hand. How did you do that? Asked Subin, her antennas twitching with excitement. The balls weren't just floating. They were identifying us individually and changing to match our skin colors. That requires advanced scanning and color-changing technology working together. As I said, we use different principles, Yunji replied, putting the ball back in her pocket. Why are you here? Daiho asked. Why come to our ship? You could have just told us to leave. I came because I respect your curiosity, said the human. It is a trait our species shares. But I also came to warn you. Warn us? Daiho's heart lights pulsed faster. Yes, said Yunji. Humans value our privacy. We agreed to join the galactic community on our terms. The Galactic Council accepted those terms. Which are? Asked Daiho. That our space remains our own. The human said simply. No one enters without permission. And if they do? Asked Tae-young. Unji's dark eyes seemed to grow even darker. The 3 ships you mentioned earlier, the ones that disappeared after crossing our border, they were not research vessels, Captain. They were military ships sent to spy on us. To learn our secrets. A cold feeling spread through Daeho's body. What happened to them? The human stood up, smooth and quick. That is exactly the kind of curiosity that can lead to trouble, Captain. Her voice was still soft, but now held an edge like thin ice. I came here to invite you to dinner on my ship tonight. As my guest, you will learn enough about humans to satisfy your scientific interest. Then you can return to the Galactic Council with your report, and we can all return to our normal lives. Daeho looked at Tae-young, who shook his head slightly. A clear warning not to accept. I would be honored, said Daeho, ignoring his security chief. Excellent, said Yoonji, that small smile returning. I'll send a shuttle for you at 1900 hours. Oh, shuttle? Asked Jinwoo. I thought you came across by yourself. I did, said the human. But I think you might prefer a more conventional method of transport. With that, she nodded to the crew and walked to the bridge door. It opened automatically for her, even though no one had touched the controls. Captain, said Tae-young urgently as soon as the human was gone, you cannot go to their ship alone. It's too dangerous. I agree, said Subin. We know nothing about them. That's exactly why I have to go, said Daeho, watching the door where the human had been. To learn. That's our mission, isn't it? To seek knowledge? His crew looked worried, but no one argued further. As the time for dinner approached, Daeho wondered if he had made the right choice. But as a scientist and explorer, he couldn't turn down the chance to learn about the mysterious humans, even if it meant risking his life to do it. Emissary Yoonji sat in the conference room, sipping the tea that Cultural Liaison Haein had carefully prepared according to the limited human biological data available in their database. This is delicious, Yoonji said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You've gone to considerable trouble to accommodate me. We value diplomatic relations, Daeho replied, especially with species we know so little about. And that's why you're here, at the edge of human space. It wasn't a question. Daeho decided directness was his best strategy. 70 years is a remarkably short time for a species to emerge from obscurity and establish enough influence to claim an entire sector of the galaxy as off-limits. Yoonji set down her cup. Captain, what do you know about humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council? Only what everyone knows. You were discovered by a Zentari mining expedition. Within a decade, treaties were signed, borders established. That's the official version, Yoonji said. The reality is that humans were aware of galactic civilization for centuries before we allowed ourselves to be discovered. A stunned silence fell over the room. That's impossible, Science Officer Subin finally stammered. Our surveillance networks would have detected. Your technology operates on principles you understand, Yoonji interrupted gently. Ours doesn't. She reached into her pocket and placed a small device on the table. A holographic display sprang to life, showing not a star map, but what appeared to be DNA sequences. Humans evolved on a death world, she explained. Earth's history is an unbroken chain of extinction events and catastrophes. Species that couldn't adapt died. Those that could, she gestured at herself. We appear physically unimpressive, compared to many galactic species. We lack natural weapons, armor, or sensory capabilities that others possess. Yet you survived, Daeho observed. We did more than survive, Captain. We thrived, not through physical evolution, but through something else. Something that made the Galactic Council agree to our terms when they understood what we are. Which is? Tae-young asked, hand hovering near his weapon. Yoonji's dark eyes surveyed each of them in turn. Let me ask you this. In your species' history, how many times have you nearly destroyed yourselves? The question caught them off guard. Never, Haein replied. The Great Unification occurred before we developed technologies that could threaten our existence. Yoonji nodded. That's common among council species. Evolutionary stability, consistent neural development, predictable technological progression. She tapped the hologram, and it shifted to show historical images of what could only be human, warfare through various technological stages. Humans have brought themselves to the brink of self-annihilation 17 times in our recorded history. Each time we survived by changing the rules of existence. I don't understand, Deho said, staring at the images of destruction that humans had inflicted upon themselves. Why would you do this? It wasn't intentional, Yunji replied. It's a side effect of how we think. Human cognition is different. We see patterns where none exist. We form beliefs contrary to evidence. We simultaneously create art that moves us to tears and weapons that reduce worlds to ash. She stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. The Council didn't create a boundary to keep you out of human space, Captain. They created it to keep us contained. You're saying humans are dangerous? Tae-young asked, his hand now openly resting on his weapon. Yunji turned, her expression almost sad. All sentience is dangerous in its way, but humans were unpredictable. And we've developed technologies based on principles that don't align with conventional physics. Preposterous, Subin objected. The fundamental laws of the universe are constant. Are they? Yunji asked. Or is that just the model your species has accepted? She turned to Deho. Captain, would you indulge me in a demonstration? Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain, Mirei's voice came over the comm. 3 Noctari warships have decloaked and are approaching rapidly. They're charging weapons. Deho's blood ran cold. The Noctari, pirates, and slavers who operated outside council law. They must have been tracking your ship, Yunji said calmly, waiting for you to cross the border where your distress calls wouldn't be answered. We need to get to the bridge, Deho said, already, moving toward the door. That won't be necessary, Yunji replied, holding up a hand. This is actually a perfect opportunity for my demonstration. She tapped her wrist device. Yunji to whisper. 3 Noctari warships in Sector 794. Implement Protocol Scarecrow. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then Mirei's voice returned. Confusion evident. Captain, the Noctari ships they've gone dark. All systems just offline. Deho stared at Yunji, who shrugged slightly. A targeted electromagnetic pulse. Non-lethal, but quite effective. They'll drift for a while before their systems reset. Your ship did that? Tae-young asked incredulously. From this distance? Through their shields? As I said, Yunji replied, quietly, our technology operates on different principles. Deho felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. If you can disable ships at will, we can do far more than that, Yunji said, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. Which is why, 70 years ago, when we revealed a fraction of our capabilities to the Council, they agreed to our terms. The following morning, Deho stood alone on the observation deck, watching as the disabled Noctari ships were towed away by Council enforcement vessels that had responded to Yunji's alert. The door slid open behind him, and emissary Yunji entered. She had changed into a simple black uniform that bore no insignia or marking, except for a small silver pin. What looked like earth, wrapped in protective hands. Your crew is preparing to depart, she said. I wanted to say goodbye. Deho nodded. You've given me much to think about, but not the answers you came for, she observed. No, he agreed. You've explained why the Council respects your borders, but not why they pretend you don't exist. Why erase your entire sector from the maps? Yunji joined him at the viewport. Fear inspires curiosity, Captain. If the Council acknowledged a mysterious, powerful species with restricted borders, every scientist and adventurer in the galaxy would be drawn to investigate. By officially denying our existence, they reduce the temptation. Yet stories spread anyway. They do, she agreed. But stories can be dismissed as rumors. Official recognition cannot. She produced a small data crystal and held it out to him. This contains accurate stellar cartography of what you call blank space, minus the locations of human worlds, of course. Deho hesitated before taking it. Why give me this? Because you were honest about your intentions, she replied. And because humans value scientific inquiry as much as you do. We don't wish to impede exploration, only to maintain certain boundaries. And if others cross those boundaries? Daeho asked. Yoonji's expression hardened slightly. As I mentioned, we evolved on a death world, Captain. Survival has been coded into our DNA since before we walked upright. She looked back to the stars. We value peace. We participate in galactic trade. We share art and culture and medicine. But we also protect what's ours with whatever means necessary. She extended her hand in what Daeho recognized as a human greeting gesture. Cautiously, he took it. Safe travels, Captain Daeho, she said. And when asked why the galactic map stops at human space, I'll know better than to say, he finished, as Yoonji's ship departed, still showing no visible means of propulsion. Daeho inserted the crystal into his personal console. The stellar map expanded, filling in the blank space with thousands of stars, nebulae, and cosmic phenomena. But as promised, no planets were marked. At the very edge of the newly revealed sector, a single notation blinked. Terran Concordat. Beyond. This point here be dragons. Daeho had to look up the reference in the ship's database. It was an ancient human phrase, used on early Earth maps to mark unknown, potentially dangerous territories. As he ordered the celestial seeker to set course for home, Daeho wondered if the true danger was what lurked in unexplored space, or what humans might do if provoked. Either way, he now understood why everyone knew better than to ask.